Number 3, transitioning from personalized marketing. So, we can't talk about the future without talking about the massive elephant that exists that's a loved brand by us as consumers and probably a not so loved brand by us as business people. But we do believe that Amazon will continue its growth as a product search engine and most likely deliver everything in the same day, which simply means that it supports that growth because it's more convenient for us as consumers. It is pretty insane and awe-inspiring to look at some of these stats. I mean, as we were pulling this together, it's like these things, but when you see the numbers, you're like, holy, I was gonna swear, but I won't. So, it's crazy. So 80% of US customers make a purchase from Amazon at least once a month. I mean, I probably do it like once a day. 300 million users, that was of last year. 43 this is like astounding from a retail perspective. So they own 43.5% of US retail e-commerce. I mean, one company, which isn't really one company, right? But they're the distribution arm for lots of brands, and therefore now they have the loyalty of the customer experience. And about a little less than 180 billion in sales in 2017. So, today, as we look at the statistics, almost half of us go to Amazon first when we're shopping for products online. So a little bit different when we're talking about B2B, but from a B2C perspective, basically almost half of us, if we know exactly what we're looking for, we start with Amazon first, which means we don't go to Google, we go to Amazon, right? So it's just something to be thoughtful of, knowing that that is what consumers are doing. And the analysts are all saying basically, a similar trajectory in that they believe ad revenue, is going to increase currently from $3 billion this year to $20 billion in 2020, so just 2 years from now, which is basically 7x, right? And so if the analysts believe that the ad revenue is going to be there, that means they believe the consumers are going to be there, because ad revenue is not going to shift unless we believe basically that consumers are following suit. So it's just something to be aware of. And oftentimes I think when we talk about anything B2C, some of us in the B2B world kind of think like, oh, well, that doesn't apply to me, but business buyers are consumers. You'll hear me get on a soapbox about this all of the time. They're no different. They're consumers just like, anybody else is. They just buy a different product. So while it may seem like in the B2B world we're kind of immune from some of these things, we're not, and it's just a matter of time before we start to see it affect the B2B industry in addition to B2C. Amazon's no different. I mean, if you kind of look at what they've done, they have Amazon Web Services, which is a B2B service for hosting, one of the largest in the world, actually. Amazon Business is their opportunity to basically take Amazon Prime and deliver office supplies to business customers. And then they've started to get into medical supplies for, basically doctors, dentists, hospitals to easily go and access that convenience as a business customer. So the guess is that, while that probably isn't going to be their core business, there is going to be some impact on the B2B space in addition to the B2C space. And if you look at their numbers, just because I have to share because I find it so interesting, most of you who follow Amazon may know that, they do the bulk of their revenue on the e-commerce site, but their margins are literally like, what's the thinnest paper or razor? It's the thinner one. I mean, they make very, 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 very little margin. On Amazon Web Services, totally different. So last quarter of 2017, they did $5 billion in revenue with Amazon Web Services. They did profit of $1.5 billion. So how's that for a business model? Pretty awesome. But that is literally what funds their business. So you have to believe that if they're looking at those models, they're not going to be ignoring the B2B side of the industry. So what should we do? Obviously, number one, evaluate the current impact of Amazon on your industry and just understand what they're doing. If your competitors are on Amazon, you really should be too. At the end of the day, this is something that isn't going to change and we need to take advantage of. And I would say pay attention to the trends in the news. We will do that as much as we can for you, but obviously there's specifics that apply to each industry individually. I just think it's important to pay attention to what's coming down the pike, because they're making a lot of moves. And I mean, in the next 10 years, who knows what we're going to be saying, other than they're going to have done something that's going to affect what we do as marketers.